It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. And whoo! All right. We're back to talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County and what kind of a hot mess it actually is. It's been a little bit crazy. Let me move this over here a little bit, but all right, guys. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Before we do, you know how this works. Go ahead, hit that like button and make sure that we get some more eyes on this. If you could, please. And if I haven't said it already, I think I've said it a million times, but I'm going to say it the rest of January. Happy New Year, everybody. And cheers to a beautiful new year. Finally, it's 2021 and we're out of 2020. I can't be more excited about that. But with that being said, guys, I say we jump right in. So, guys, we start off this episode, Real Housewives of Orange County. Start off this episode with Shannon Storms Bedore. It's funny that her name used to be Storms because she is kind of a storm herself. But Shannon Storms Bedore is getting her daughter Sophie ready for college. She's about to go attend Baylor, and she seems like she couldn't be more happy to get out of Newport. It was interesting to see because, guys, if you've watched The Real Housewives of Orange County, you know that Shannon Bedore is just intense with her crystals buried into the foundation of her house and everything organic and making sure that everything is just perfect, but in a interesting way, I guess you can say. When she's walking around and ordering these headboards that are organic and these sheets that are organic and these pillowcases and everything else, you see her daughters just looking at her like, Mom, enough. It seems like, she does like to go overboard, but it's interesting. I also want to pan over because you can't talk about Shannon and her daughter going to college too much and trying to get out of the house because I feel like we understand. I want to pan over to Braunwyn, though. Braunwyn ends up addressing Sean because he doesn't really like to talk about his feelings. She calls him out for getting jealous of her girlfriends, and she says that drives her insane. But now, honestly, we can see why he gets jealous of her girlfriends. Now, especially that she's come out and she's kind of revealed with all of us, the viewers and her fans and everybody else in the world, her true identity and, who she likes and who she doesn't like. I get why her husband is jealous of her girlfriends, especially her girlfriend, Shari, whatever we want to, however you pronounce her name, the other woman in her life or the woman in her life, her wife. It's crazy. This is like this all over the place. Guys, before we move on and talk about Braunwyn and her interesting relationship, again, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. But as she's addressing Sean, she's talking about all of the problems that she has and how they snuck away. They went to the montage and they discussed these issues. And she feels like nothing has changed. Apparently, they made a deal to go to the montage once a week and just get away from all of their responsibilities, their family, the kids. 7 kids at home, but escaping them once a week, it's like they probably want to escape you guys too. It's just interesting to watch and how their thought process goes. For Braunwyn, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but it seems like every time you turn around, she's trying to get out of the responsibilities that are her family and just turn a new leaf. She says that home life isn't, home life isn't sexy, but it's like you made this life, and I guess to her defense, she did say at one time, I did think I had the perfect situation. I thought I had the perfect life with my 7 kids. My husband, we're rich, everything seems great, but that's not how she feels anymore. Now, the more and more she gets sober, especially in this episode, we see where they celebrated 6 months of sobriety. The more that this goes on, the more she sees that this isn't her perfect or ideal situation. So she tries to actually fight with Sean to push him away. And then they're in this, what she calls this kind of codependent revolving circle going back and forth and back and forth. And the more she wants to push him away, the more she tries to fight with him. But unfortunately, it's not working out to her advantage because he keeps coming back because for him, he looks at it as this is my wife and I want to be there for you. So as much as you push me away, I'm not going anywhere. It's interesting now to see what he's going to think or if he's going to go anywhere now that she has her new girlfriend, Chris, because I wouldn't stick around for that. But you can tell this man really loves his family and he's trying to make it work. I want to also pan over to another kind of crazy, tumultuous situation that needs to be addressed. Elizabeth. Elizabeth sits down with her brother Andrew, and they're talking about how they grew up. Guys, this made me so sad to listen to the fact that her brother was dyslexic and almost got beat to death at 4 years old because of this cult that they were in. They thought that maybe he was being possessed in some sort of satanic way or something like that, which is just crazy. This is crazy. I didn't even know things like this exist. I mean, you hear about it, but to know that one of our housewives is going through that, it's just kind of like mind-blowing. She did make an appointment with a therapist, with a specialist who's a therapist, to address this situation, to pretty much figure out, how do I move past this and how do I get over this trauma? Now, guys, she wasn't just abused. She was abused in more ways than one within this cult. And I don't want to talk about that or jump too much into it, but it just goes to show you the level of trauma that she actually endured. And it kind of makes us understand a little bit more about her. Everybody was so quick, and I myself included, to jump in and be like, Elizabeth's boring. She doesn't make the housewives interesting. How did she even become a housewife? Because all she talks about is the money she has and the divorce that she can't talk about. Now she's finally divorced. She did finalize the papers. Her and her husband, or now ex-husband, both signed them. And her and her boyfriend can start sleeping together, I guess, as if they weren't already doing that. But just knowing that she went through this, knowing that she is a real person and not just some Newport snob who has all of this extra money. And I'm not saying going through a cult or being abused makes you a real person, but I'm saying the fact that she's kind of peeling these layers and showing us exactly who she was or who she is, how she grew up, it just makes you more kind of invested in her storyline. I mean, this is really heavy, especially for the housewives, but at least we are getting somewhere with her, even though I feel like we won't keep her around for next season. I'm calling it now. I feel like Tamara's coming back, and we're also going to get a new housewife, who would be Noella Bergner. And we met her this episode. Guys, again, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Let's get more eyes on this video, and let's cross over to Gina. I have all of my notes in front of me, and I want to make sure that I don't skip a beat. Gina talks about how Braunwyn has hypocritical behavior because she doesn't want to talk about Shannon at Lake Arrowhead, which is funny because she doesn't want to talk about Shannon. She gets up, and mind you, Gina's telling Emily about this because Emily missed out on the Lake Arrowhead trip because she had COVID. But Gina's sitting there telling her how, we're all talking about Shannon, and all of a sudden Braunwyn storms off and is like this, and it's like, I can't talk about her. I don't want to gossip about her because she's not here. But then, displaying this hypocritical behavior, she actually, in fact, does talk about her. She talks about how her relationship is unhealthy and how she's technically concerned for her. Her drinking is a little bit off the charts, and so on and so forth. I think that's where the women are struggling with Braunwyn at this point, because like Emily said, she's in a very selfish place in her life, but also in the same breath, she's lashing out more now, not drinking, than she ever was when she was drinking. She was fun when she was drinking. Now she's just rah! All the time. And the women are starting to see that. For Shannon, she can't take it anymore because she feels like there's one thing in this world that she can't handle, and it's a liar. And she's constantly calling Braunwyn a liar. For the house comment that she allegedly or supposedly made about Gina, for making up this whole thing about Elizabeth and pushing her to get a private investigator to figure out what's going on with her finances. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I just think that all of this is going to come to a head very soon, especially at the reunion. We know that Kelly Dodd did call out and say, listen, this reunion is going to be good because this woman keeps talking about me and talks about my family and my kids. I'm going to bring some stuff to the table. So we'll have to see exactly what she meant by that. But speaking of Kelly Dodd takes her daughter to the beach, and Jolie's growing up so fast. Guys, if you watch The Real Housewives of Orange County, I remember when Jolie was like this big, and it's sometimes fun to watch the housewives and their families grow up. I mean, we watched it with Ramona Singer on Real Housewives of New York. We watched it with Teresa Giudice on Real Housewives of New Jersey. I mean, it's, of course, we could go on. The list goes on and on and on, but it's just interesting to watch their families grow up before us. Like, next thing you know, we turn on our screen and they're little teenagers. So it was, like I said, interesting. Kelly Dodd and her daughter end up going to the beach. And one thing I have to say is maybe don't give this kid a car. Jolie starts honking because somebody won't get out of the middle of the road. And Kelly's like, don't honk. You're going to get us into a fight. And Jolie's like, okay, well, maybe they should get out of the road. It seems like she doesn't really have the patience for the silliness, but what it also seems like is she doesn't have the patience for her mom anymore, because her mom puts so much pressure on her. But as Kelly Dodd says, you know, with children need parameters. Children need parameters to grow. You can't just let them run around and do whatever they want, or else they're going to run amok and go crazy. But for Jolie, what she doesn't understand is, I do things around the house. You guys don't give me any chore money. I make straight A's. I'm always home when I'm supposed to be. I do everything that I'm supposed to. And you just get more and more strict on me. But to Kelly's defense, she's like, that's why you're doing so well, because I am strict on you. Don't worry, Jolie. We've all been there with our parents, and you will be out of the house before you know it. And then you're going to be like, Mom, I want to come home. At first, I mean, or maybe she won't. I don't know. I didn't grow up in Orange County, so who knows? But it was nice to see, though, when Kelly's asking Jolie about how she feels about Rick. She feels like Rick is probably the first normal person in a long time in Kelly's life. And she really likes him. She feels like it's a good dynamic and it's a healthy dynamic. Rick acts as a buffer for them sometimes, and it's probably the voice of reason. And I think Jolie can appreciate that. She says that over time, she's gotten all of her wisdom from her experiences, and she wouldn't give that up. But it's like, it's just interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch kids and teenagers talk about how wise they are or may not be. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for anybody who wants to call in, and I'm going to keep this going. But guys, if you haven't already, again, go ahead and hit that like button. Boy, did Jolie grow into a beautiful young woman. Suzette. Okay. I hope this new reunion, one of them to bring up another binder. The binder better have its own chair and a drink beside it, says Willow. Okay. Everybody likes Monique's binder, huh? Guys, I want to go back to Shannon storms the door. Shannon ends up going over to John's house, and if you guys saw this episode, he has a little bachelor pad. It's a nice little pad that sits right on the water, has his little Doberman, his drink outside, and it seems like there's a little pathway. I mean, it's nice. It's really nice. Not like I would think that Shannon would date anybody without money, because that would be ridiculous, especially from the comments that we've heard that she made about the stylist's Honda Civic, about Gina's 1,600 square foot home. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I would not imagine that she would kind of have it any other way, just to be fair. She's talking to John about the fact that she's had a lot of abrupt behavior over the last few months with coronavirus. She has been drinking a lot more. She's kicked him out. She said, get up and down, you know, and she does it in that kind of high pitched, like crazy voice. I don't want to call her crazy, but emotional voice. And you know, she's owning it. She's owning it, and she's having the tough conversation. He asks her, do you want to drink? And he says, you know, it's a Saturday afternoon. You want a vodka soda? And she says, no, it's too heavy. Like, I'll take one of those teeny bopper drinks, as she's talking about the fact that she's drinking too much, which I thought was kind of funny. You know, but I guess they were working it out, and it's going to be good. Onward and upward for Shannon Storms Bedore and John. We obviously know that they're still together. So, you know, it seems like, I think COVID put all of us through this kind of crazy time, these crazy ups and downs, and just, you know, it was just a little bit nuts. I have a few callers in the room, and I'm going to start bringing them up in a minute, especially not paid by Monique. I love that. But I'm just going to finish up this recap and then start asking my questions on what you guys thought of this episode. Let's move back on to Gina, though. Gina sits down with Travis and talks about Matt. Talks about how he obviously did not accept the plea deal. He's not taking full responsibility for this alleged domestic violence, and he doesn't want a felony on his record, which, in all fairness, who would want a felony on their record, especially if you can challenge it? I mean, I'm not saying that makes it right. And yeah, you should have to be held accountable for your actions. But I just don't know if for him, he wants to accept the responsibility and the jail time or probation sentence that comes with that. Mind you, if you get a felony, like Kelly Dodd said, it affects your career. It affects your life. I mean, that does not go away. That is, you're stuck with it. So that's probably something Matt does not want to have on his record, which, I mean, who does want a felony on their record, just to be fair? Hold on 1 second. I'm actually going to bring up Not Paid by Monique. And hi.
Hi, it's me.
How are you?
It's Miriam. That's my Insta handle.
I know. Hey, I just like to keep saying it. That way people will go follow you.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, right.
Anyways, I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch it yesterday because of everything that was happening. But I have some opinions.
Okay.
You know, first of all, I feel like people are over scrutinizing Braunwyn. Like when she's trying to get sober, like she is really maybe for the first time realizing like what life is. So and she's reacting in a certain way, but then again, she's in the show and she's doing what she's supposed to do. I feel like Shannon, she's an expert in instigating the detectiveness in others. She used to do that with Tamara, but Tamara used to like it, and they were in cahoots for a long time. And now Tamara sees that she was only used by Shannon. So Braunwyn, like, and to be honest, every mom has that moment. I only have 3 kids, and so many times I feel like I wish I could. Did I escape? I didn't. But do I sometimes?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So just give the woman some slack. And about Gina, I feel like she should go on in the with the filing, and she shouldn't worry about him having a felony. For him to learn, he has to know that actions has consequences. Actually,
do you think though maybe she might be thinking in her mind like what Kelly said and might have stuck with her? Like, hey, don't ruin this man's career and his job and how he can provide.
With me, because I have personal experience in that, and sometimes I wish that we stay hostage of this idea because he's the father of the kids. But when he does something wrong, when does it stop? I feel like Gina, she has a platform. She is privileged in a way that she can start something for her own, in a way that she is not reliable on the child support from her husband, ex-husband here. So if she still plans on being dependent on that, then yes, she should drop everything. But she already put it out there. So he already has that. She started. She needs to finish. It's hard. I did not do what she did. I could have, and I know that I should have, but I was a stay-home mom. I had really no choice. So for her, I feel like, you can work. You're still young. You're not starting over at an older age. I'm almost 50. So it's very different. We can't apply. She is in a privileged situation. She can be independent completely. And, and she needs to make him learn a lesson, because she's hostage of, I don't want to ruin his career. Well, he ruined my life. He traumatized me. How about that? Who's Kelly Dodd to say that? Kelly Dodd should, she is an expert on her own opinions about her own life. If she didn't experience that, I don't think she doesn't have a moral understanding on anything.
Well, I want to back it up really quick too, because there's one thing I agree with you when it comes to Braunwyn as far as wanting an escape every once in a while from your family. But one thing that I'm struggling with is the fact that a lot of people find Braunwyn's behavior to be super hypocritical. She moves in this woman, Sherry, whatever her name is, moves in this woman and lets her stay in the house and gets ready with her and has this kind of interesting relationship where she says that she loves this woman, but she just wants her husband to accept that, which is kind of, I mean, I feel like he always gets poured into the stick here.
She's being selfish.
Yeah, she's being selfish. And
being selfish.
She says that she's trying to push him away, so she wants to be more and more mean to him. And she has all of these feelings about how he doesn't understand her and she's not invested in him anymore, whatever the case is. But then she gets mad at him also when he's like, listen, I get jealous of your girlfriends. And she's like, that's hard for me. But also, no wonder why he gets jealous of your girlfriends. Now everything makes sense.
Well, I agree with everything you said. But then again, why is it only on Braunwyn's shoulder for this to stop? How about her husband? Why doesn't he take like a stand on this and say, I don't want this. She can't move in, period. If they own the house, he has a say in who lives there or not. And he can tell her, I don't like this. Why don't, like what we ask from women, we ask a lot from women when they do wrong and when they do right, as if it's all on them. I feel like they're both in this together. And if he doesn't like, it's not like he stays so that we feel bad for him. Get out. Just get out.
I also feel like, and just to kind of to play devil's advocate here a little bit, I feel like for the way that she's lashing out, she's talked about how she's hit him. She's talked about how she's like laid hands on him and acted out and lashed out in all of these different ways. We're saying that Gina's husband, Matt, needs to be held accountable for putting his hands on Gina.
Yeah.
Braunwyn, just because she's a woman doesn't make it right. But I feel like this guy just wants to keep his family together.
Accountable. See, this is just backs up what I just said. If she did that to her husband, why doesn't he file charges on Braunwyn? I think Braunwyn, but
I think that he gives her. I honestly think this man just wants his normal family back together. And I feel like when people get a little bit of taste of fame does things to you. You know, it kind of, it changes you a little bit. And Vicky Gunvalson said this too. She's like, Braunwyn has this addiction to fame and she has these storylines and she has these just kind of, everyone feels like she will do anything that it takes to stay on this TV show. I'm curious.
No, I get that. Well, actually, in one of her stories, Braunwyn, she said, like, someone asked her, how did you get in the show? She goes, well, I kept posting and hashtagging Keyport. She knew what to do to get on the show. Like, she caught the attention of producers. But
she was hashtagging who?
She would hashtag Keyport, hashtag Housewives of OC. She was hashtagging every time she would post something. She said that in one of her stories. She did say that. So this because people said, how did you get into the Housewives? On the Housewives, she said, well, I worked for it. She said that on one of her stories.
So she wanted the fame.
She pursued fame just like all of them do.
Like, right.
Please, who is talking? Vicky? Oh my God, she doesn't like fame. Of course she does. And I mean, she's pissed she's not in the show anymore.
Technically, anybody who's on a reality show would want the fame. Just to be fair, it's true. Like even Gina and all of these other women who are like, we don't get it. Like she'll do anything to stay on the show or to stay relevant. But it's also like, well, you guys are all on the same show.
Well, they
and
are.
You guys are all blasting out your families.
They are all doing that. Something that stood up with me with Monique, she said something yesterday. She said, when I went into Real Housewives, I know it's off related, but it goes.
No, that's...
She said, when I already had my businesses established and I knew what I wanted in the show, and we weighed the good versus the bad. We knew that it was going to be a playing field. And we always went in, like she and Chris, they decided to go in as long as the good outweighed the bad. And once that equation stops, we're going to get out. And that's what she did. And I believe that they gave her a crappy a contract, but she is in a situation she can leave. She's not depending on that. She
Right.
would like to have used that to expand her platforms, which they didn't really give her room for that, about lazy moms, and even her video and this. She got out. But then again, Gina, she went in this knowing that everything would be exposed, and she had problems with Matt before the show. She was pretending not to have. So they can't come all of a sudden say, oh, this is off limits, just like Elizabeth. I feel like I believe in her story, but she's so freaking phony. She how can she be oh my God, I can't talk about this, and she's having an anxiety attack. Why did you sign up for the show? You didn't know that was going to come up, that should come up.
I mean, I think honestly, again,
I'm confused.
I was confused at first too, and I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of her right out of the gate. But now knowing that she is exposing the fact that she was in this crazy cult that her family was a part of, and that her mom tried so hard to get her out of, and her brother was almost beat half to, because he was dyslexic. It's crazy. It makes her, I don't want to say more relatable, because a lot of people can't relate to that, but it adds, like I said, dimension, because we're finding out that she's not just some Newport bimbo who's I have money, I'm rich, I'm gonna go get a Ferrari and color all over it and donate it. And it's
turn off. Oh gosh.
Right, exactly. So now we're seeing real pieces of her, and that I think is what viewers are enjoying about her now. But I honestly don't see that she'll be coming back. And I actually have a friend who joins me on here. His Instagram is Faces by Bravo. His name is Steve. He's really good friends with Braunwyn and helped her son get all ready for his drag debut and everything else. And he's hung out with her new friend, Noella Bergner. Noella Bergner is a friend of Vicky's first, but she has a private jet. She has this crazy, very, very wealthy Newport life. And she's obviously a little out there. I know you said you didn't watch the episode, but she just made her debut on the Real Housewives of Orange County.
No, I saw the clip because Braunwyn, she posted it.
Yeah.
That part I saw.
Okay. Yeah, so she made her debut. And now Steve was saying that he's 99.9% sure that Noella Bergner will be a housewife on next season of the Real Housewives of Orange County. So
yeah,
I believe it though, because
she fits the bill.
She does fit the bill, but Braunwyn also needs somebody on her side. At this point, I don't see Elizabeth coming back. I really don't see Emily coming back. Gina doesn't like Braunwyn anymore. She's not in cahoots with her. Neither is Kelly Dodd. Neither is Shannon Bador. And if they bring Tamra back, that would be perfect, because Tamra doesn't like Kelly or Shannon. Yeah. And she would stir the whole pot with that. And if they don't bring her back, then Braunwyn needs a friend. Like Andy Cohen says, that's one of the main reasons they didn't bring back Brandi Glanville. No one would film with her. Nobody wanted to talk with her. Nobody wanted to do anything with her. And it makes it really hard to be a housewife in these group social situations when nobody wants you there.
Yeah, but I feel like, this is something that Bravo shouldn't be held hostage of the housewives. If you signed a contract, you don't get to say, I won't film with her. If you don't want to film with someone, you are out. That should be a clause, period. It shouldn't, because they are playing a role in instigating, just like what happened in Potomac. To be honest with you, if it wasn't for Giselle and Robin and Wendy going on the wagon, I am not a fan of Candace, but I could see how they could have worked things out, at least at the level of we can film together. But right. What happened was they kept putting gas on fire behind the scenes, and Candace is crazy, and this is what happened. Why are you letting the housewife say, oh, I don't want to film with her? Why? They signed up for the show, and the show has an ensemble. You don't get a say in that.
Well, I actually agree with you. I think that's a great point because, just from my own personal experience, I've seen the NBC contracts and I see how they are structured and they work. And they're very detailed. They're like down to a T. They have you on lock. They know, I mean, it's just they're structured very, very well. That should be one of the clauses that would be in an NBC contract, is that, hey, listen, if you're going to be a part of this ensemble cast, you're not the star of the show, it's an ensemble cast, then you have to film with everybody. And
yeah, if they did that, Nene would still be in Atlanta.
I mean, Real Housewives of Potomac for Monique, I can kind of understand where they would be okay to let the women not film with her only because of the physical altercation. And the women can easily take a step back and say, listen, I don't feel comfortable around her because she puts her hands on people. I could see where they can get away with that.
But do you remember like the way they behaved, Robin behaved before with Monique? Like, come on. And I don't want to bring politics into this, but what happened yesterday in our country happened because of words. So, and we have people that commit suicide because of cyberbullying. So this unequivalency about harsh and words and physical altercations needs to stop. Both are equally bad and both cause a lot of damage.
Right.
We just had proof of that. It's words that like pushes crazy,
right,
either in us or the crazy in others to surface. So this is my thing. Like, they instigated a lot. They brought the plot into the show, and you're an ensemble, and like this is where also like Bravo shouldn't have let Giselle at all bring at any time that bodyguard, because that was a dog whistle. Why are you bringing a bodyguard to Karen's house first, and then in the reunion? Like, what the heck is that? That's a prop. That implies, oh, she's scared of Chris Samuels. Like that, there are things like everybody's responsible, and I feel like when they have harsh like words, it's the same thing. And if you sign up for the show, you don't get a say to say, oh, I'm not going there. No, you all are going to the events that you're supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean, because technically, and before we continue, I want to say real quick, guys, go ahead, hit that like button. Let's get more people in the room. But no, technically, every time you see the women film, like whether it's in this episode, Kelly, this is how we end the episode with Kelly going over to Shannon, they get call times. That's what they are. Producers call them that week and they structure it out. They are on call. I think it's 6 days out of the week, and they need to be around for filming. And if they aren't on call, they have a structured out schedule. If they know the events that they have to attend to, they know everything, and they can't just not show up for filming. And if they don't show up,
if I don't show up to my job, do I keep my job? No, I don't. Do I get paid? No. I go to my work and I have a good like performance. This is why I keep a job, and they have a job.
Right.
So they shouldn't have to say, oh, I won't film with her because of this. Oh, really? How about what you were saying? Like Monique, what's her name? Giselle. She said this screw-in buddy when she was mentioning the trainer. Like, what does that imply? Please. And you're tearing a family apart. And then you're going to also, you can say whatever you want to say about her character, and you won't expect a reaction. I'm not condoning a reaction. But honestly, in Monique's place, I think I would have behaved the same. Because when you have your dignity to defend, like, and you are frustrated, and they are coming at you, and they're coming at your kids.
I mean, no, I agree. Anne said, didn't Robin go up to Ashley and start going in on her and had to be held back in one of the first seasons? Yes, she absolutely did. And then Theo said, yeah, and Robin and Giselle almost got physical with Ashley before, and now they're saying that we would never be violent. Exactly. And also Hermione said, Miriam is making very good points, which I agree. In this episode, I know you didn't watch it, but you saw little random clips if they were posted on some of the Housewives' Instagrams. But on this episode, one thing that was just really annoying was the fact that Kelly Dodd ended up going over to Shannon's house, and Shannon had nothing on the counters, nowhere. They walked through the kitchen, and all of a sudden there's a check laying out from her ex-husband. And it was the last check of their settlement, which was $1.4 million. Kelly Dodd looked at it and was like, yeah, girl, you go, and high-fived her. But then Kelly Dodd in her interview confessional was like, why would you leave that out? Like, that's personal and that's strange. And Shannon was like, yeah, this is it. This is all I got out of this marriage was the one
poor
point.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I got out of my marriage? I don't get alimony, and I was a stay-home mom. I co-own a home. That's it, and I got child support for my kids. Oh, we should feel bad for Shannon that she's not going to be able to. Shannon is such a privileged woman.
She's very privileged.
She's very privileged. Nobody can relate to her. No one.
I mean, when you're burying crystals in the foundation of your home, that's next level. But Ivan said, thank you for the super chat, Ivans. In my opinion, the cast could be Shannon, Gina, Braunwyn, Tamra, Noella, and Elizabeth due to her new storyline. Kelly needs to go. She was the disaster on Watch What Happens Live last month.
Yes. Yeah, true. There's another thing that I wanted to see if you agree with me. I'm sick and tired of having them wrong somewhere, not wrong everywhere. They are like being like, even within the same franchise, like they did not condone violence when it was like an intro into the discussion of the altercation between Candice and Monique, but they didn't do that disclaimer when they were talking about the fight between Chris Bassett and Michael Derby. And then like being like also like a homophobic, like or racist. Why is it wrong in one franchise for some people and not for all?
It's interesting that you say that. I always bring this up as an example, and
Kelly Dodd fits all of the above, by the way.
I bring this up as an example because I did an interview with Candice before this season of The Real Housewives of Potomac, this now past season, started, and I asked her about what she thought about Bravo firing the Vanderpump Rules cast, and they were on a big firing spree. It was the year 2020 was the year of being held accountable, and they were letting people go for anything that they said that could have been that had to do with race, religion, culture, anything. If you teetered that line and you were disrespectful, you were out. And I asked her, I said, what do you think about that? And she's like, absolutely. You are an adult and you should be held accountable for your words. And Bravo doesn't need to have them on this platform. But
Did
then
you
a
know
month
by then
later,
what she had before?
well, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like a month later, all of the tweets came out and they addressed anybody who is a part of the LGBTQ community, which is insane because her boss, Andy Cohen, is in fact, a part of the LGBTQ community. So
you just said it. You just said it. This is the thing. Wrong somewhere, not wrong everywhere, as long as that person is bringing drama and ratings. And for them to say they do not condone violence, if they really did not condone violence before the season aired, they should have edited out the fight off the show. Period.
I agree.
This is what they made it all about the fight. You can't speak from both sides of your mouth. And listen, Andy, in my head, he was my best friend. And I was like, it was my escape TV. And now I see him in a different light. I really do. Do I still think he's funny? Oh, yes. Smart? Yes. But now I see for who he is.
A lot of people find him to not be fair.
He kept Candice because she's bringing the ratings, and for them not to condone violence and yet air the violence, they could have edited that out. And, and told the woman, we have to refilm. We don't want to put that on the show. If they're really, and on another level, if they're really firing people because of 10-year-old tweets, why is Candice still have a job?
Well, exactly. And there's a 4-minute compilation video.
Like she did.
I took a screenshot of this. There's a 4-minute compilation video of this. I don't know where it's at. I got to find it. But it's a 4-minute compilation video of, Andy saying Bravo does not condone violence. And then all of a sudden it's Portia dragging Kenya. It's the Married to Medicine fights. It's all over the board. Thank you, Jill, so much for the super chat, super sticker. She said, thank you for calling out Mean Girls. Bullying is not okay. Guys, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, we are 40 minutes in. Miriam, I appreciate you calling in and touching on the
I don't want to
topic.
take time from others. I know I
No.
my
Of course.
opinions,
We're going to go ahead. We're coming back on in 20 minutes with Jason to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So for anybody who didn't have a chance to call in or didn't get brought back up, call back in when Jason's on here and we will bring everybody up and talk about Salt Lake. So if you're around, Miriam, and if people
I will try.
already,
Let's see.
all right. If people
I
have
might be
already,
walking again.
oh well, hey, call
When I
in.
walk.
Everybody go follow Miriam at Not Paid by Monique.
I am not. Seriously, I am not. Monique, just like one last thing. She wasn't one of my favorites, but I never was bothered by her. She's gorgeous. I felt like she's a good fit for the show. But I saw the way she was able to be friends with Ashley. She changed in my mind. I felt like, wow, this woman, she really forgives.
Yeah.
She really forgives and moves on. This is why I say if the other two did not interfere, I think her and Candace could have gotten to a certain agreement. But they said, okay, let's talk about them and we don't talk about us. I'm so glad Juan Dixon is not here.
Oh my gosh. Well,
yeah. I'm so glad.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, the call again.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in, and we appreciate you. And it seems like everybody in the chat loved having you. So
thank you.
Call anytime.
You're a class act. You only bring good people.
Hey, I like that. Thank you so much.
You are. Bye.
All right. Have a great day, Miriam.
Bye, everyone.
Guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. We're going to be back here in 18 minutes with Jason to recap last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which was insane. Whitney got so drunk and was dropping bombs all over the place. She first tells Jen, I mean, if you guys didn't watch the episode, go watch it. But she tells Jen that Meredith and Lisa are afraid of her and telling Mary this. And then she says, Meredith, while you're here, I just want to tell you that Jen is telling everybody that your marriage is all messed up. It's just one after another. And then all of a sudden she's like, that's it. And Heather goes running for the hills because she's like, I can't take this anymore. Guys, we're going to be back with Jason to talk all about it. So see you guys in